I took my prenatal checkup report to my fiancé Robert Blake, but he had to be responsible for a college student. 5 years later, he sued me in courtroom to make my son donate a kidney to his illegitimate child. Little did he know my son was Hong Kong's richest man's. Robert Blake was dumbfounded and regretted it, while I'm super happy married into a rich family. I took my prenatal checkup report to Robert Blake, wanting him to marry me, but he suddenly said he had to be responsible for a college student he had a drunken hookup with. The young woman gave me her first time and is pregnant with my child. I can't just leave her. Before I knew it, he took Sarah and held a grand wedding abroad, proudly welcoming a boy named Ethan into the world. 5 years later, we met again at an art exhibition. His gaze landed on my son, Leo. I can marry you, but from now on, you'll have to be submissive and you and your son will need to attend to them both. Be smart, and the Blake residence might find a place for you. I'll give you a chance to prove yourselves. Ethan has kidney disease. Let your son donate a kidney to Ethan. Consider it your ticket into the Blake residence. I held my son tightly. I'm sorry, he's not your child. You don't get to decide this. My son and I showing up immediately changed the previously harmonious atmosphere. Look, 5 years. Olivia finally couldn't hold back and came looking for Rob. Bringing a son gives her better odds. She's clever, isn't she? She's been simping for him for half her life, only to be snatched away by a college student. She's probably still dreaming of using her son to compete for favor and gain legitimate status for him. Someone dramatically lowered their voice. Shoo, quiet. If she hears us, she'll threaten suicide again. This was followed by a burst of laughter loud enough to blow the roof off. They spoke this way because the first time I found out about Sarah, I used threaten suicide to force Robert Blake to choose between us. My mother was so angry she had a heart attack. She said I was so desperate to get married, so unable to live without him. Looking back now, it was utterly foolish. At that moment, I calmly and truthfully told them, my son, Leo, doesn't have the last name Blake. Hearing this, Robert Blake beside me snickered. Don't try playing hard to get with me. After all these years, you still haven't gotten rid of those bad habits. If you were half as sensible as Sarah, I wouldn't ignore you and the child. Go reflect on yourself. 5 years ago, I was overjoyed, holding the prenatal checkup report, wanting him to give me a legitimate status. Instead, he publicly held Sarah's hand and swore he would be responsible for her. I instantly became the laughingstock of the city. Some said I was low status, not worthy of marrying up. Some said I wasn't as young as Sarah. Some said I got pregnant out of wedlock, deserves this outcome. But no one knew that Robert Blake had promised me repeatedly that if I got pregnant, we would get married, and his parents at the Blake residence wouldn't oppose him marrying me. Seeing I wouldn't back down, Robert Blake flicked the ash off his cigarette and said casually, "It's fine if you don't donate the kidney. Then I'll sue. I don't believe I can't get a kidney from my own son, can I?" Immediately, he called his lawyer, specifically demanding to fight me for the child's kidney and taking me to courtroom. But he wasn't the child's father. What right did he have? Sarah shot me a provocative look and snuggled into the man's arms, acting coyly. Oh dear, Olivia is getting more wrinkles from anger. What if she gets so angry she finds another man? I don't want to be the bad guy. Robert Blake dismissed her words entirely, sighing as if worried for me. Her reputation is ruined. Who else would marry her besides me? She's so old now, and she's carrying my child. He pinched her cheek, his words loaded. You think she's as young and beautiful as you are? That she can find a man whenever she wants? The woman's small face flushed from his pinch, and she shyly hit his chest. Robert Blake was waiting for me to lose control, to make a scene like I did 5 years ago, making everyone laugh. But he saw I was looking down, replying to a message, not paying attention to his taunts. His face instantly darkened. He opened his mouth as if to ask something, but finally just stifled his anger. We need to go home now. You two can chat. After replying to my husband's message from abroad, I took my son's hand, pretending to turn and leave. Robert Blake strode forward, blocking us. His eyes held undisguised fury. Wait. Which home are you going back to? Chapter 2. When Sarah was first pregnant, she refused to go back to the Blake residence with Robert Blake, saying she was afraid of being criticized and called a homewrecker. During my pregnancy, I suffered such a massive upheaval, going to the hospital multiple times, almost losing both my child and myself. But Robert Blake didn't care. He threw all my things out of the Blake residence and blocked me from entering. You absolutely cannot live in my house anymore. What will people think of Sarah? She's a clean, respectable college student. You can't make her bear that reputation, can you? A suitcase hit my pregnant belly. Cold sweat like beans dripped down my forehead. The pain was so severe my insides felt shattered. But he didn't even turn his head. He went back into the villa, closed the door, and changed the password. My child and his, that was when I had the miscarriage. Thinking of this, I gave a self-mocking laugh. Which home could we possibly go back to? Our own home, of course. Sarah misunderstood, thinking I meant I was bringing my child back to the Blake residence. She cried like a little tearful figure. Olivia, you're older, but you can't be so condescending, can you? Robert and I have already held a grand wedding. If you move back in, where would I put my face? To put it bluntly, wouldn't you be a mistress? Instantly, the crowd around us burst into laughter. Olivia, she'd be willing to be a mistress. Even if they ranked her as the 5th or 6th mistress now, she'd still pounce like a mad dog. Status isn't the most important thing. The most important thing is Rob himself. Frankly, she'd be happy to be Rob's dog. Calling her a mistress is too generous. Amidst the laughter, Robert Blake quickly went to comfort her, then turned and snapped at me. I knew you suddenly showing up with a child wasn't for nothing. You really did want to take over, didn't you? I'm telling you, I changed the locks long ago. Even if you climb in through the window, I can still kick you out. The man before me shielded Sarah tightly, afraid I would argue forcefully as I did back then, making her lose face. Thinking about it now, why did I even argue back then? I should have aborted his child and moved out of the Blake residence myself, cutting my losses immediately. Besides, I'm doing quite well now, aren't I? I lifted my cold gaze. You're thinking too much. Before I could finish, Robert Blake spoke as if bestowing a great favor upon me. Since I said I could marry you, I can also grant you a place to stay. Just move to Westwood Estate. There's no one around for miles. You and your son can hide away there quietly. It's also good for Leo to rest before his surgery. Olivia, I'm going to win the lawsuit. You should tell your son to get ready early. Remember to avoid spicy food and seafood. Pay attention to him. After all, you'd be a kind of secondary figure to Ethan. Robert Blake wore a confident smile. The phrase isn't in the JSON, translating directly, triumphantly embracing Sarah as he left the venue. Chapter 3. Over the next few days, Robert Blake was busy running around for his son's illness and didn't bother me anymore. From time to time, he would send me some legal documents, threaten with legal action, urging me to agree to Leo donating a kidney. A week later, I don't know where he got my address, but he showed up at my house with a cold face, looking around. I wondered why you weren't living at the estate. Turns out you're working as a nanny at someone else's house? The villa looks quite nice. Did you climb the social ladder and latch onto a wealthy family? But do you know how embarrassing this is for me? Do you still want to marry into the Blake residence? Quit immediately. I calmly sipped my tea, helping Leo with his homework, and ignored him. His effort was futile. Robert Blake became furious and grabbed Leo, trying to take him away. I refused to let go, my eyes red as I demanded, "What exactly do you want?" Robert Blake acted as if it was his right, forcefully holding the child in his arms. Ethan isn't doing well. I need to take Leo for a checkup to prepare for the surgery. Saying this, he called over a few bodyguards and had them take me to the hospital too. He hadn't lied. Ethan was indeed in critical condition. Pacing outside the ICU unit window, a hint of crimson appeared in Robert Blake's eyes. It was the first time I had seen him look so vulnerable. I hesitated, then stepped forward, trying to comfort him. The Blake residence is certainly not short on money. Why waste time on Leo? You should hurry and find a kidney donor pool. Before I finished speaking, Robert Blake's face turned red with anger, and he slapped me directly. I told you. Leo is my child. He'll definitely be a match for Ethan. Why would I go looking for someone else's kidney? What if there are potential risks? Can you take responsibility for that? Seeing his blatant favoritism, the bit of pity I had felt dissipated. He's my child. I won't agree. After I spoke, Sarah knelt down pitifully, made a gesture as if begging, Ethan is my only cherished treasure. He has the same last name as Leo, Blake. Please have mercy, let Leo save my child. Her child was certainly pitiful. But Leo was also my cherished treasure. Would I really let him undergo surgery at such a young age? Saying this, the woman grabbed my hand and dragged me into the ICU unit, her face instantly changing. Is your heart made of stone? I'm telling you, Rob will make your son save Ethan no matter what. You think having a bastard child means everything's fine? In the end, he'll just be an organ bank for my child. She was two-faced and even insulted my child. I didn't want to indulge her at all. Sarah, my son has no obligation to save Ethan. Seek help elsewhere. With that, I made to turn and leave. Unexpectedly, Sarah struggled for a few seconds, then hardened her heart and shoved Ethan's oxygen tube into my hand. I held the tube, completely at a loss. The next second, she started screaming desperately for help. Rob, Olivia is trying to kill our child. Come save him. Chapter 4. Robert Blake rushed over at the sound, quickly snatched the oxygen tube from my hand, and fumbled to put it back in place. Only when he saw Ethan breathing normally did he turn and glare at me with fierce, red eyes, as if he wanted to tear me apart. Sarah didn't forget to fuel the fire, crying as if she had suffered a great injustice. This child was already unlucky, suffering from kidney failure, and you heartlessly try to kill him to save your own son? Olivia, I'm so disappointed in you. Sarah's moral blackmail worked. The man forcefully grabbed my chin. You're a mother too. Is this the example you set for your son? Do you think he would want a murderer for a mother? I couldn't breathe from his grip, but his hand tightened further, his eyes bloodshot. Don't forget how you begged me to marry you back then. Now you need to behave properly even more, only then might I give you a legitimate status. My face was red and strained, and tears involuntarily fell. I struggled and pinched his arm. Perhaps I pinched him hard enough. He winced and loosened his grip, giving me a final warning. I don't believe it. If talking nicely doesn't work, then go home and wait for the courtroom summons. I rushed to find Leo, only to discover his waist was full of needle marks. My heart ached to the point of suffocation. How could I possibly bear to send him to Robert Blake? That afternoon, I received the courtroom summons. I opened the sealed file envelope, my heart turning cold. I immediately called Leo's biological father. Someone is trying to bully your son. Are you going to do something about it? 2 days later, the trial officially began. Sitting in the defendant's seat, I stated clearly, Your Honor, my son, Leo, is not the plaintiff's child, so he has no right to demand that my son donate a kidney to his son. Hearing this, Robert Blake scoffed. 5 years ago, it was public knowledge that you were pregnant with my child. You were the talk of the entire capital city. This matter couldn't possibly be fake. If you're just upset that I didn't fulfill my responsibilities as a father, I admit it. I can take good care of him in the future. Name your price for child support, and I'll meet it. But no matter what, Leo's kidney must save Ethan. Losing a kidney won't kill him, but if Ethan doesn't get treatment in time, it's very dangerous. Saying this, Robert Blake's face showed the compassion of a father. He reluctantly instructed his lawyer to present Ethan's critical condition notice, end-stage kidney failure. Under his hopeful gaze, I calmly repeated, I've already made it very clear. Leo doesn't have the last name Blake. He is not your child, and you have no right to demand his kidney. As soon as I finished speaking, Robert Blake became furious and slammed the table, standing up. Olivia, don't push your luck. I'm trying to reason with you. Besides, Leo is growing up. If you keep talking reckless and cause the child to misunderstand, I'll have the courtroom award custody to me directly. Forget preventing Leo from donating a kidney, you won't even get to see him then. The judge slammed the gavel forcefully, order in the courtroom. Robert Blake adjusted his posture and sat down, suppressing his anger as he spoke to me. Olivia, evidence? Witnesses? At least produce one, otherwise you're just wasting everyone's time. My witness? I looked up at the back door of the courtroom and curved my lips into a smile. See? Here he comes. Everyone in the room followed my gaze, their eyes fixed on the arriving figure. A steady, unhurried sound of footsteps echoed through the courtroom. His gaze towards my son, and I remained gentle as water. The moment he sat down, the spectators finally got a clear look at his face, and gasps erupted. What? How could she get Hong Kong's richest man, Alexander Stone? Chapter 5. Not just get him? Alexander Stone is Leo, my son's true biological father. Robert Blake immediately straightened up, looking at me with disbelief. Olivia, what is going on? Then, he relaxed, understanding dawning on him. Oh, so you were working as a nanny for the heir to the Stone fortune? But let me tell you, this is a family matter between us. An outsider, no matter how powerful, has no right to interfere. Alexander Stone gave a calm smile. How could the esteemed Mrs. Stone be a nanny? Olivia has been married to me for 5 years, and I haven't let her lift a finger. What you're saying is quite amusing. Hearing this, Robert Blake became tense again, unable to believe his ears. What? Olivia is your wife? Are you joking? She's here with my child, showing up in front of me, clearly wanting me to marry her. This joke isn't funny at all. Saying this, the man turned directly to face the judge. Olivia's witness is invalid. Let's just announce the verdict. Seeing his confident demeanor, Alexander Stone reluctantly pulled out a paternity test result. He probably never imagined he'd have to prove his son was his own one day. The paternity test was submitted. The judge saw the official seal and nodded. The defendant's child is indeed Mr. Alexander Stone's. The plaintiff's request is denied. Courtroom is now adjourned. As soon as the words fell, Robert Blake's face instantly turned black. He stood rooted to the spot, at a loss. How is that possible? He strode over to me, his eyes red, demanding, Olivia, what is going on? How can Leo not be my child? The fact that you were pregnant back then was undeniable. It was the talk of Capital City. Where did you hide my child? I met his gaze steadily, holding back some emotion. My child? Do you remember the day you threw me out of the Blake residence? That very day, your child was miscarried because you hit me. The man's eyes immediately panicked. He seemed to be desperately trying to recall what happened that day, his face gradually turning pale. The day of the miscarriage, the doctor asked me to find someone to sign. I called him countless times, finally getting through. But I only heard sounds of vulgarity on the other end. I'm busy. He only said that one sentence before hanging up. When I called again, his phone was off. I will never forget that day, getting off the cold operating table alone, crying and fainting multiple times. Robert Blake must have remembered too. His eyes were red, and hot tears silently streamed down his cheeks. My child, how could my child? Seeing him like this, I only felt a pang of sadness. The child died 5 years ago. It was too late for him to start crying now. I interrupted his murmuring. Now you should believe it. Leo is my son with Alexander Stone. You have no right to dictate what happens to his organs. Robert Blake, can we leave now? Chapter 6. The man before me still couldn't believe the sudden truth. He grabbed my shoulders tightly, his eyes filled with unwillingness. Olivia, you were so desperately in love with me. You even used to threaten suicide back then. You definitely wouldn't marry anyone but me. How could you marry someone else? Yes, I was desperately in love with him. Everyone in Capital City said I was a simp, as if I couldn't live without him. It seems love truly blinds people, turning them into complete fools. After leaving him, my mother spent a fortune to send me to Hong Kong to study, telling me to broaden my horizons. I discovered there were more things, more people, waiting for me to meet. Slowly, I realized Robert Blake was nothing special at all. Thinking this, I gave a cold laugh. When I loved you, you were my everything. But if I don't love you anymore, you are nothing. What? You didn't like Sarah that much? Why did you wait 5 years and still not marry her? After I spoke, Robert Blake and Sarah exchanged glances, but neither gave an answer. But I was just asking casually. I took Leo's hand and linked arms with Alexander Stone, making to leave. Robert Blake suddenly spoke from behind me. Olivia, I didn't marry Sarah because I was giving you a chance. I was afraid you couldn't handle it and would threaten suicide again. Alexander Stone and I exchanged a knowing smile. The world outside was so beautiful. He wasn't the only man on earth. After marrying Alexander Stone, I realized how blind I was before. I fell for a scumbag who lied constantly, became a laughingstock because of him, had a miscarriage because of him. It wasn't worth it at all. I turned around, shrugging indifferently. Don't worry. I won't do anything that foolish again. You can get married whenever you like. Don't worry about me at all. Instantly, Robert Blake's chest heaved with anger, his teeth grinding loudly. Olivia, you are really something. Fine then. I'll marry Sarah. Don't come crying to me later. I smiled, raised my eyebrows, and made a pleased gesture before turning and leaving the courtroom with Alexander Stone. Walking out the door, I finally breathed a sigh of relief and hugged Alexander Stone to regain my composure. You're finally back in the States. You have no idea how much my son and I suffered these past few days. I originally just wanted to bring my son to attend an art exhibition and play in the States for a few days. Who knew I'd run into that lunatic Robert Blake? Alexander Stone held Leo in one arm and tightly embraced me with the other, his face full of affection. Yes, hubby is late. But you've learned your lesson now, right? From now on, you must bring bodyguards when you go out. You always say they're a nuisance, but they can protect you at crucial moments. I covered my ears, not wanting to hear it, and walked directly to the stretch limo. The chief bodyguard suddenly spoke. Mrs. Stone, I heard the young master was injured. Should we? I was silent for a moment, then shook my head. Forget it. It was just a few needle pricks. We'll be more careful in the future. The bodyguard nodded and opened the car door for us. Back in Hong Kong, Alexander Stone spent a few days having fun with my son and me. Leo, who had been scared, finally perked up and went back to school. Meanwhile, I was sitting at the bridge table, playing bridge with a few wealthy ladies. I just didn't expect Robert Blake to actually follow me to Hong Kong. Chapter 7. Seeing Robert Blake rush in, panting, the wealthy ladies began discussed all at once. Mrs. Stone, is this the Robert Blake who threw you out of his house back then? You really should thank him for not marrying you. Sarcastic. Otherwise, how could you have met Mr. Stone? The Blake family is nothing compared to the Stone family. I heard he tried to snatch your Leo a few days ago. He had the audacity. I didn't even spare him a glance, continuing to arrange the bridge cards in my hand. Ah, that's all in the past. Let's not talk about it. Who hasn't fallen for the wrong person when they were young? The next second, Robert Blake rushed over and grabbed my wrist, his brows furrowed tightly. What do you mean, fell for the wrong person? Olivia, don't forget how much you loved me back then, how you were threatening suicide. Now you're telling me you fell for the wrong person? You're just pretending to be strong. Seeing this, the bodyguards nearby made to intervene, but I raised my hand to stop them. I turned my head to look at Robert Blake. Open your eyes and see. My life is thriving now. Why would I want to be with you? To go back and suffer? Robert Blake was trembling with anger. He clenched his fists and slammed them hard on the bridge table. I never knew this before. Are you a gold digger? You moved on just because the Stone family is rich, right? As soon as he finished speaking, the other wealthy ladies burst into laughter. You don't know, Mr. Stone in our Hong Kong circles spoils her rotten. He wishes he could take his family to the office and cannot be apart for a moment. The few days Olivia took the child to the States for an art exhibition was the longest they've been apart. With all that, what woman in the world wouldn't be tempted? Perhaps my and Alexander Stone's deep affection stimulated him. The veins on his forehead bulged, and he almost choked from internal injury. Olivia, you think I'm the only man in the world who makes mistakes. Alexander Stone makes mistakes too. The day he cheats, you'll come crawling back to me, crying. Hearing this, I really found it hilarious. It was he who couldn't keep himself decent back then, using drunkenness as an excuse to get involved with a college student. Whether it was planned or spur of the moment, it was his own character flaw. Relies on slandering others to elevate himself just made him look more like a clown. You can rest assured, Alexander Stone and I will be happy forever. Not all men are like you, lacking self respect. I think you should go reflect on yourself. Robert Blake squeezed the bridge cards on the table, staring at me intensely. I already said, Sarah and I just had a drunken hookup. Being with her was just about being responsible. You're thinking too much. Do you expect me to abandon them, mother and son? I can't do that. Whether he was taking responsibility or just infatuated, it had nothing to do with me anymore. The only thing I remembered was him throwing me out of the Blake residence, the look of determination and cold and heartless in his eyes, which didn't seem like an act at all. You don't need to put on a show of deep affection for me. We don't have time to watch. Besides, didn't you say you were going to marry Sarah? Why are you chasing me to Hong Kong? This is the Stone family's territory, not a place for you to act wildly. Hearing my words, Robert Blake looked incredulous. You really want me to marry Sarah? You're actually that cold and heartless? I met his shocked gaze and nodded decisively. Robert Blake suddenly became manic, laughing wildly and breaking down. Olivia, fine, I'll bring Sarah and Ethan to Hong Kong immediately, cure Ethan's illness, and form a new family of 3. Chapter 8. I glanced at his agitated appearance, still calmly arranging the bridge cards, a sarcastic smile on my face. That's Mr. Blake's family matter, then. But congratulations anyway. Then, I started playing bridge seriously. 6 of bamboos. Seeing that I didn't care at all, Robert Blake's face turned red with anger. He couldn't vent his rage. Playing bridge with these wealthy ladies in Hong Kong, I had long developed a relaxed attitude. Olivia, don't think I'm joking. You don't need to pretend you don't care. I'll make you regret this. He was too noisy. I raised my hand and called a bodyguard to escort him out. Let go of me. The Blake family is not someone you can offend. Olivia, I'll give you one more chance. Are you coming back with me or not? Robert Blake's hysterical shouts gradually faded away, and the residence finally became quiet. The other ladies all spoke up for me, saying how could I have fallen for such a man. However, everyone makes mistakes. It was fortunate that I cut my losses in time. In the evening, I personally went to pick up Leo from school. As soon as I reached the school entrance, I saw Sarah peering inside. The moment she saw me, she scrambled towards me, crying pitifully, Olivia, it was my fault before. Please, I beg you, let your son save our Ethan. He's really in critical condition. Although I could understand her feelings as a mother, I would never risk my son. I sighed slightly. You must know that Leo isn't Robert Blake's son, and the match might not be there. Besides, I said from the beginning I wouldn't agree to this. As a mother, shouldn't you have made other plans earlier? To my surprise, hearing my words, Sarah's face instantly changed. Olivia, you're too cruel. Are you jealous of my son and I, so you want to drive us to desperation and have Robert Blake all to yourself, is that it? If my son is truly in critical condition, I won't let you or your son off either. Just then, the school gate suddenly opened. Sarah seized the opportunity. While I wasn't paying attention, she grabbed Leo. Let him go. You dare touch my son in Hong Kong? Do you know what the consequences will be? Sarah seemed to have gone mad, hugging Leo tighter and tighter, her eyes filled with a warning. If you don't let me take him for matching, do you believe I'll strangle him right now? You think a kidney donor pool is easy to find? I don't have time to wait anymore. If you don't let me take him, we'll die together. I was puzzled. Robert Blake had high status and power in the States and had said he would marry Sarah. Why didn't he help her find a kidney donor pool? Without time to think, I tried to calm her down. Sarah, the child is in innocent. Let him go first. We can talk properly. If worst comes to worst, I can help you look for a kidney donor pool. Don't do anything rash. Hearing me say this, Sarah seemed about to let go, and I slowly relaxed my guard. But the next second, Sarah ran onto the bridge nearby with Leo, making to throw the child off. No! Chapter 9. The parents and students at the scene were terrified. Sarah still wouldn't let go of Leo, yelling at me, "Ever since you left, Robert Blake has been hot and cold towards me and neglects our child. Isn't this because you're interfering? Stop pretending to be a good person. You think I'll believe you? You must be hoping my Ethan gets into trouble right now. How could you possibly save him?" Saying this, she frantically pushed Leo towards the riverbank, her eyes filled with hatred for me. In the face of danger, I gave a look, and the undercover bodyguards in the crowd quietly approached her, finally rescuing Leo. Sarah was immediately pinned to the ground. "Olivia! I hate you!" The bodyguards knew how important Leo was to my husband and me. They immediately held Sarah down and beat her. Only when she was covered in blood did she stubbornly raise her head. "Olivia, I won't let you off even as a ghost." I quickly shielded Leo, frowning as I warned her, "If you dare harm my son, neither Alexander Stone nor I will let you off." Just then, Robert Blake arrived in a hurry. Seeing him, Sarah looked like she had found a lifeline, crying pitifully like a victim. "Rob, Olivia bullied me and threatened Ethan. How can you still protect a woman like her?" Unexpectedly, the next second, Robert Blake strode forward and kicked her to the ground, showing no mercy. "Why are you still causing trouble for Olivia? I've made it very clear to you, I won't take care of you anymore. Even without her, I wouldn't marry you." It was only then that I understood. What he had said before was just empty threats. It was also quite funny. Did he think he could scare me into submission by threatening to marry Sarah? That was far too arrogant. Hearing these words, Sarah's face was a mix of blood and tears, filled with unwillingness. What's so good about Olivia? She's old, already married, and has someone else's child. Are you blind? Robert Blake, don't forget, Ethan is your own flesh and blood. He's in critical condition right now. Are you really going to abandon him?" Hearing this, Robert Blake gave me a meaningful look, his voice cold and heartless. "I've already given you $5 million. If you really want to save your son, you should hurry and find a kidney donor pool. What are you doing harassing Olivia and Leo? If you bother them again, don't blame me for being harsh." Seeing the man who once doted on her being so cold and heartless, Sarah laughed mockingly, almost delirious. "You are so heartless. Why did you change completely after Olivia came back? You only have eyes for her, leaving me and our son behind." Robert Blake suddenly turned to me, his eyes red. "Olivia, I admit I love you. I admit I want to marry you. Seeing how much of a sacrifice I've made, please get back together with me." Sacrifice? His so-called sacrifice was abandoning his new love and his biological son? I never expected him to not only be a complete scumbag, but also so cold and heartless. How could a person like this possibly have the nerve to ask me to come back to him? I laughed scornfully. "You should give up the idea. No matter what, I will never look back. Leave here immediately. I don't want to see either of you again." Chapter 10. Hearing this, Robert Blake's face was full of disbelief. He couldn't believe what he had just heard. He thought that if he just humbled himself, admitted he loved me, I would be moved to tears. He thought that if he just declared his loyalty to me, abandoning Sarah and Ethan, I would be ecstatic. It was simply ridiculous. All Robert Blake's actions did was made me think he was timid and insecure, cold and heartless. After some time, Robert Blake slowly walked towards me, tears glistening in his eyes. "Olivia, I've gone this far. Why won't you forgive me? When Sarah got pregnant back then, I was just momentarily panicked and impulsive, which was why I kicked you out. But living with her for so many years has been nowhere near as happy and relaxed as being with you. You know? When I saw you come back, I kept thinking about marrying you, about fixing my past mistakes. Seeing his hypocritical and selfish appearance, I truly didn't want to look at him for another second." I sighed helplessly. "Don't you understand yet? You're just comparing me and Sarah, and you'll choose whoever you feel more comfortable and happy with. But I never intended to be a backup option. You only get one chance. 5 years ago, you abandoned me, and at the same time, you abandoned that child. So today, 5 years later, you've long since lost your only chance. You can regret not choosing me back then, but that's your business. You and I have nothing to do with each other anymore. Perhaps sensing my determination, Robert Blake shook his head in despair, already crying his eyes out. No. Olivia, how can you say we have nothing to do with each other? At least we were together. That time was really beautiful. If you have to blame someone, blame Sarah for seducing me. She was the one who got me drunk. As he said this, the man suddenly seemed to realize something. He turned and grabbed Sarah by the neck, saying viciously, "Yes. It was you. If you hadn't seduced me, how could I have driven Olivia away? We wouldn't have wasted 5 years." Seeing that the woman was almost choking, Robert Blake still didn't let go. Sarah's face was red and strained, her eyes fixed on him. "Have you forgotten? I didn't seduce you at all. You were the one who made moves on me. That's why I thought you were interested in me, and that's how that and I GHT happened." Suddenly exposed, Robert Blake tightened his grip, then threw the woman onto the bridge with brutal force. His chest heaved with anger. He turned back to me, explaining, "Olivia, don't listen to her nonsense. How could I possibly actively betray you? It really was just a drunken hookup. Whether it was active or passive, it had nothing to do with me anymore." I looked into his eyes with disdain. "You don't need to explain to me. I don't want to hear it anyway. If you have any conscience left, take Sarah and leave. I don't want to see either of you again." Saying this, I took Leo and turned to leave. Unexpectedly, Sarah lunged at me like a madwoman. Before I could react, Robert Blake stepped in front of me first, and they both fell off the bridge. The bridge was steep, and there were many scenic rocks/reefs below. After a few sharp screams, silence fell immediately. As expected, they were probably died. I quickly covered Leo's eyes and got into the car with the bodyguards escorting us. After returning home, I thought it over and decided to find a kidney for Ethan from the kidney donor pool. No matter how vile and foolish his mother was, the child is innocent. The doctor called to say the surgery was very successful. I asked him to hand Ethan over to Sarah's family. After I gave some instructions, I snuggled into Alexander Stone's arms, acting spoiled again. "Hubby, you should take Leo to school today. Remember to bring me back a small cake, okay?" The man dotingly inhaled my hair, letting out a pleasant laugh. "That's the advantage of marrying a husband who spoils his wife rotten."